I arrived before anyone else. That had become the pattern over the years. Show up early, open the side gate, start turning someone else's event into something that looked effortless. The backyard was still wet from the night rain, and the folding tables leaned against the fence where my stepmom had left them days earlier. I unlocked a shed and started carrying things out. Plastic eggs in a cardboard box, extension cords, two coolers that smelled faintly like last summer. By the time the sun cleared the neighbor's roof, the backyard had the bones of a celebration. Tables were lined with cheap pastel cloths. The egg hunt trails were half hidden under bushes and around the oak tree. I checked my phone and confirmed the catering arrival time, paid the balance. It didn't feel generous. It just felt like something that needed to get done. Inside the house, the kitchen still had that familiar smell. Coffee, cinnamon, the cleaning spray my stepmom liked. I moved through the space carefully, like someone working in a place that technically wasn't theirs anymore. That part had changed after my dad remarried. Not overnight, more like erosion. At first, it was small things. Your room becoming the guest room, decisions happening without anyone asking if I'd be there. But holidays had stayed the same, or at least the work around them had. By mid-morning, people began arriving. My brother showed up with his kids. A couple of cousins I hadn't seen in months wandered into the backyard and immediately started asking me questions. Where should we put desserts? Is the egg hunt starting soon? Do you want help setting these chairs? It always happened like that. People assumed I was running things because I usually was. My stepmom walked through once or twice, nodding approvingly at the setup like a manager inspecting a venue. My dad spent most of the afternoon talking near the grill with his neighbors. No one asked when I had arrived. The egg hunt itself was loud and chaotic in the way those things usually are. Kids sprinting across wet grass, adults holding coffee cups and laughing at nothing in particular. One of my cousins leaned toward me and said, "You always organize this so well." I smiled. The compliment landed somewhere distant. The catering van arrived around 4 o'clock. I walked the staff through the kitchen and showed them where the outlets were. They recognized me from the previous year. "You're the contact again?" the manager asked. "Yeah, everything's already paid." "Yep." He nodded and got to work. By early evening, the backyard was full. Chairs filled around the tables, plates stacked, steam rising faintly from the covered trays waiting in the kitchen. For a moment, it looked like a perfect family gathering. Then my dad raised his voice, not shouting, just loud enough to stop conversations. He had that tone he used when correcting someone in public, the one meant to draw a line. "You're just a guest in this family now," he said across the table. "Don't overstep." The words sat in the air longer than anyone expected. My stepmom nodded once beside him, calm and certain. My brother didn't look at me. He stared down at his plate like he had suddenly discovered something very interesting about mashed potatoes. No one else spoke. It was strange how quiet everything became. The laughter from a minute earlier seemed to drain out of the yard. I stood up, not quickly, just enough to push the chair back and walk toward the house. A few guests assumed I was grabbing something. Someone asked if dinner was about to start. I didn't answer. Inside the kitchen, the catering trays were still closed, heat building beneath the foil. The staff were finishing their setup. I grabbed my bag from the counter. Then I pulled out my phone. The catering account was still open on the screen. The manager stepped inside a moment later. "Ready to start service?" he asked. I looked up at him. "I need to stop it." He blinked. "Stop dinner?" "I'm the account holder." That part was easy to verify. My name was on every invoice. I made a short call to the company office, the same number I'd used to place the order weeks earlier. My voice stayed steady the whole time, just a cancellation request. Procedure. When I hung up, the manager nodded slowly. "Understood," he said. "We'll pack the food back up." Outside, confusion started about 10 minutes later. At first, it looked like cleanup. Staff moving trays, the van backing closer to the driveway. Then people realized plates weren't being served. I walked toward the front door. My dad came inside just as I reached it. "What's going on?" he asked. "The food's leaving." "What do you mean leaving? The order was under my account." He stared at me for a moment, trying to process the mechanics of that sentence. "You can't just leave like that." I adjusted the strap on my bag. "I thought I was just a guest." The words didn't feel dramatic when I said them, just accurate. Behind him, the catering manager stepped into the hallway. Since the account holder canceled service, he explained carefully, we'll be returning the order. Authority in that moment didn't look like power, it looked like policy. My dad opened his mouth as if he might argue, but there was nothing procedural left to contest. From the hallway, my brother watched silently. For the first time all day, he looked directly at me. I nodded once to him. Then I walked out the door. The backyard noise was fading as I reached my car. Guests were already standing up, confused conversations starting to spread across the tables, kids asking questions, adults checking watches. The party was unraveling slowly, the way gatherings do when the structure underneath them disappears. Driving away didn't feel like victory. It felt unfamiliar. For years, I had tied belonging to usefulness. If I organized enough, fixed enough, paid enough, maybe the space would still feel like mine. But usefulness had apparently never been the same thing as family. About 40 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message from my brother. I didn't realize you were doing all of that. I read it twice, then set the phone face down on the passenger seat. No reply. That evening, I stopped at a small diner off the highway, the kind with fluorescent lights and vinyl booth that sticks slightly to your arms. I ordered coffee, then pie. Outside the window, the sky was turning dark, and somewhere across town, my family's Easter gathering was probably dissolving into polite goodbyes and leftover confusion. Someone else would organize things next year. Or maybe no one would. For the first time in a long while, that responsibility didn't belong to me anymore.